Hey everyone, Miss Knittycat here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to knit the knot stitch. I would put this stitch at an advanced beginner or intermediate level. It's a fairly simple stitch, I want to say, but there's the one little tricky or finicky part, which I'll show you in just a minute. But it provides a very pretty fabric, as you can see in the sample that I've knit up here. This is the right side, this is the wrong side, and I think it's called the knot stitch because it has these little pretty knots that it forms, almost like a smocking-like effect by bringing the stitches together. And then there's alternating holes, almost like a honeycomb-like pattern, I want to say. Little hexagonal, if you can see, or little diamond shapes. And I've been trying to adapt this pattern to knit a hat with it. I don't have a hat pattern yet. I'm still tinkering with this, but as you can see here in this prototype hat that I've knit with a darker shade, I think the pattern looks good on a darker color as well as a lighter color. So let me show you how it's done. I've provided the details of the stitch itself in the description field, and the stitch is knit on a multiple of 4 stitches plus 1. So for this demonstration, I've cast on 17 stitches. So that's 4 times 4, 16, and then add 1 stitch plus 1 when you're knitting in the flat. And in this sample, I added a couple rows of garter stitch at the start. You don't have to do that. You can start the pattern right from the cast on edge. But if you choose to do that, I would recommend casting on the stitches a little bit looser, because why that is you'll just see that in a minute. And I've done a couple pattern repeats here. So I'm just going to continue on this one. Now the pattern is a 4-row repeat. And the first and the third rows are the right side, and then the second and the fourth rows are the wrong side. You'll be knitting on the wrong side, and they're just going to be purl rows, so they're going to be super simple. All right, here we go. Row 1. You knit the first stitch, and then starts the pattern repeat for the row. Now the pattern repeat is you're going to take the third stitch and pass it over these first 2 stitches on the left needle. So this is the little tricky, finicky part that I was talking about. So you're going to take your right needle, insert it into the front loop of that third stitch, and pass it over both of those stitches here. So this is why knitting it a little bit on the looser side helps. All right. And then you're going to knit that first stitch that's left over there on the needle, and then do a yarn over. So bring the yarn to the front and knit the next stitch. So what we've done here is, by bringing the stitch over these 2 stitches, we've decreased 1 stitch. But now by doing that yarn over in between, we have brought that stitch back. So at the end of the day, your stitch count for this row or for every row will remain the same. All right, so here we go. We did those 3 stitches, and then it's a knit 1. So that's your pattern repeat. Here we go. Let's see that a couple more times. So we'll see that again. You're going to take that third stitch, pass it over the first 2 stitches, then you're going to knit the first stitch, yarn over, knit, and then knit 1. And we'll see that repeat a couple more times. Essentially, keep doing that pattern repeat to the end of that first row. So here we go. And once you get the hang of it, once you've done it for a couple rows, it becomes really easy, that bit about picking up the stitch and passing it over. You can also use your index finger to kind of hold down those first 2 stitches so that they don't drop off. And then knit, yarn over, knit, and then knit 1. So keep doing that pattern repeat all the way to the last row. And that's the end of row 1. Row 2, it's just purl all the way across. In fact, row 2 and row 4, purl all the way across. So super simple. And your fingers and mine can use a little bit of a rest here, because you're not doing that little passing over the 2 stitches bit. And it's a little unusual where you're passing stitches over on the left needle, because we're more used to doing that on the right needle when we do a SKP or an SK2P. So a little bit unusual, but after you've done this a couple times, it'll be super easy. All right. And that's the end of row 2. You're going to turn your work. I'm just using double pointed needles for the demonstration. Don't need double pointed needles for this pattern. And now row 3. It's almost identical to row 1, except for the number of stitches you're going to knit at the start and then at the end. So here we go. Row 3, you're going to knit 3 stitches at the start. And then you do that same identical pattern repeat that we just saw in row 1. So you're going to take the third stitch, pass it over, then knit one, yarn over, knit one, and then knit one. So you're going to keep doing that pattern repeat all the way down to the last 2 stitches. So we'll see that a couple more times on this row here. Here we go. Pick it up, pass it over, and then knit, yarn over, and knit, and then knit one. And once more, pass it over, knit, yarn over, knit, and knit one. So you'll keep doing that all the way to the last 2 stitches, how many ever stitches you have for your project. And then the last 2 stitches, you're just going to knit. And that's the end of row 3. You turn your work. And row 4 is just a purl all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and purl this. And the one thing, again, you want to watch for, as I mentioned in all my lace videos, I think, is that when you get to that point, when you're purling and you get to that point where you have that yarned over stitch, just be careful because that one can drop off really easily. But if that happens, no worries. You're just going to pick it back up and keep on knitting or keep on purling. And that is the end of row 4. And that is your 4-row repeat for the pattern. You will start again with row 1. So row 1, as we know, is you knit the first stitch, just the 1 stitch, and then starts the pattern repeat of the bringing the yarn over those first 2 stitches, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, and knit 1. And so you're going to continue on doing row 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you keep repeating your work, it'll start to look like this. So as you can see, really not that bad, except for that one little part. So once you get that, then I think this is a wonderful pattern, and it'll look great for if you want to make a scarf or a shawl or a baby blanket, or even a hat if you want to knit it in the round. But hopefully I'll have a hat pattern soon, and once I do, I'll definitely make a video on that. A couple other points. Because it provides a dense fabric, if you want to knit a blanket and you want the blanket to have a little bit of a give and just a nice drape, then I would recommend using a needle size larger than what you would normally use for that. So for instance, here I'm using size 9 needles for this yarn, which is a worsted weight yarn or a medium weight yarn, and it's still providing a fairly thick fabric, as you can see, and fairly dense. But if I want to do a lighter one, I might use a bigger size needle, not even a 9, maybe a 10 or a 10.5. And that's it. And if you also want to put a border, or if you want to add borders to the side, you can add whatever number of stitches you want for those borders. Just make sure that in between you have a multiple of 4 plus 1, and this pattern will work. So I do hope you give this one a try. As always, thank you so much for watching my channel. If you liked the video, please click the like button, leave me comments in the comments field if you have questions or suggestions, and I will do my best to answer them. And I hope you subscribe to my channel to watch all my upcoming videos. Thank you again so much for watching, and happy knitting.